Yes, Rishi, you may start.
Yeah, I think the recording is on. So, as some of you might already have an idea about what competitive programming is, or in short, we call it CP. So, we'll keep it really short. Okay, so let's just give a brief introduction about what is CP, so that the people who don't know what CP is will get a pretty good idea of what it is. So, we'll just get started. Okay, so let's go to first question is what is competitive programming, right? So there are just 3 points here. This really trivial. So it's also known as mind sports. You can just ignore that. The problem is, so when you have questions over here, okay, these questions are not based on logic. This requires you to have a certain algorithm, and then you have to use that algorithm to solve that problem. Okay, that's where the programming part comes in. You use programming languages to write logics for it, right? So so what is competitive programming is basically solving problems, and where the competitive part enters is you are given specific time, right? So you'll have a time limit, like a contest will have from somewhere around 2.5 hours, 2 hours to 10 days even, because the codes of context a contest known as long challenge will go on for 10 days. So we have to solve certain number of problems within the given time frame. So that is where the competitive part comes in. So many people will compete against each other. You guys can compete against yourself. You can just check how you progress over time, right? So it is basically solving questions which is heavily relied on algorithms and mathematics, right? So nothing else. Uh, we'll go for why as for competitive programming as of now. So we'll see why do we do competitive programming. For the major part, we'll just we'll just we'll just look at how good it will help you in your placements and interview. Okay, so when you go to an interview as a fresher, on placement, like on campus, it's completely different from what you face on off campus, because in off campus your work experience that does actually matter a lot, but in on campus when you go to placements it doesn't actually matter a lot, right? So as you are a fresher, the person who's going to interview you will have a pretty good idea about who you are and what you already know. So as a fresher, he cannot expect much from you to have maybe like 5 or 10 years of work experience, right? So he'll be asking you to solve 1 or 2 questions based upon the company. So if it's a very big company like a tech giant like Netflix or PayPal, the question will be relatively harder when compared to some other questions, right? So when you are on that point, competitive programming will really give you a hand. So you'll be able to come up with solutions much faster than expected than your peers. Like if they don't do competitive programming. So as for the difference between competitive programming and the interview questions, is really a thin line, right? So we cannot call interview problems as a perfect subset of competitive programming, because competitive programming does have a competitive nature in it, where the interview problems do not have, right? But it does help you. It will definitely help you to come up with a solution faster than some other people, right? So as for other added perks, like you can do lab assignments, it will help you in college. Like if you go to a DSA lab, you'll be the first one to complete all the questions. You don't have to worry about your lab assignments. As for good salary, it totally depends on which company you're attending, right? So it will help you to make a placement ready student, but you cannot completely rely on that. You also have to learn some other skills, right? So as for algorithmic approach, the main part of competitive programming is not about, yeah, Shankar Narayanan. It's more about math oriented. Okay, so that's what I was wanted to say before we move on to the next part. The thing is, it doesn't matter how you solve a problem. What matters actually is the algorithm that you use, the approach that you use, how you approach the problem. So this leads to the very important question of what programming language you need to use. Programming language is just a tool. Okay, so it has nothing to do with how you solve the problem. So irrespective of what programming language that you use, if you want to add two numbers, you can do that in C++, C, Python, or any other language that supports basic arithmetic operations, right? So if you have any questions like which programming language do you want to choose, it's totally fine. Okay, so everyone who's starting in CP or in development in general has this question of which programming language should I learn first. So I can suggest, note the word suggest, Python, but I can never recommend any language, right? It's because it doesn't actually matter in which language you start, right? Your career as on a whole does not rely on the first language that you learn, right? So we are not going to have in detailed session about how different these programming languages, because that's not really out of the scope, because competitive programming depends and relies on the problem solving and not the tool that you use to solve the problems. So as for C++, C++ is a language. So you might have heard of this misconception called C++ is faster than other languages. No, it is not. It's just like saying English is faster than French. It's actually not. Programs that are written in C++ will have relatively lesser execution time when compared to other languages. The programs that are written in other languages, right? So as for Java, Java is really verbose. If you guys don't know what is verbose, it's basically writing so many number of lines or words in just a program to get something done, right? So this really makes Java as not an optimal programming language for CP, but it doesn't mean that you should not learn Java, right? Java is basically not a mainstream language as of now, but you can still learn to get a pretty good idea, right? Still, many people like Java, they use Java. There are many legacy code bases that use Java. So, Python would be my suggestion. It's because it's very easy to get started, right? You don't have to worry about the language and the syntax, semantics parsing, and the depth. You don't have to have in-depth knowledge on what Python is or how to write Python code. You just have to. You can simply focus on the problem-solving part, and then Python will take care of stuff for you, right? In C++, you're not going to have that. But most people usually prefer C++. It's because we have this culture where we learn C and C++ from our school days. Now it's actually gradually changing. So we can see many people who do Python, who use Python in CP, right? So let's keep it really short. If you don't want a verbose language, then don't use Java. Don't listen to anyone who is saying that you should use CP. You should use C++ for CP, right? It's a bad advice. It's generally bad advice to follow. So just choose which language you like. Choose which language you feel like you'd be more comfortable in. If you want to get work done, choose Python. If you want to learn something more on low level hardware abstraction, you can learn C++. That's it. So let's go. Without further ado, okay, JK has raised a hand. Yes, JK.
Bro, can I use C?
Can someone hear him? Like I can hear you, but your voice is so faint.
He's
He's
saying
asking,
if
can you
he's
use
asking if you can use C.
Yeah.
No, can you any one of you talk?
Yeah, so yeah, JK is asking if you can use C for competitive programming.
Yeah, you can absolutely use C,
Yeah.
but the problem is, see the second point in C++, the STL is good. The STL basically means standard template library. So if you guys have problems with standard template library, just stick with us till the end of the session. So C++ has something known as standard template library where it provides many different functions for you so that it will make your life easier, just like Python, right? In C, you don't have that. So if you basically want something like a tree or some other data structure, you have to implement it yourself. So that would be a problem, right? So it doesn't mean that you cannot use C, and you can use C or C++. Whatever. As I said, like there is no strong recommendation. Person who is saying that you should be starting with this language is definitely wrong. So and your career on the whole does not rely or does not change a lot based on your first programming language that you learn. It's because as a rule of thumb, many experienced people in a lot of other fields say that you will have to know at least 2 or more languages in your life, right? So you cannot rely on just one language and just CP. So it doesn't matter which language, right? Because language is a tool, and you're going to solve mathematical problems or mathematically intensive problems that requires you to have algorithmic knowledge. It has nothing to do with the language. C is basically very hard. C++ is also hard. That's why we don't usually suggest C++, but it doesn't mean that you should not be starting with C++. If you want, you can write in C, right? So I don't want to talk a lot and then bore you out. But the real gist is TLDR, too long don't read, is just if you want to learn in C, you can learn C, right? But it's really hard. As it, yes, someone is talking.
Doubt, sir. What can you once again explain what is meant by verbose?
Oh, verbose, yeah. Verbose is basically if you want to do, let's take an example, right? So if you want to print something, right? My name is Rishan. So if you want to print my name is Rishan, in Python you just do print, okay, and then you call the print function, and then you pass in the string. My name is Rishan,
yes,
and Python will get the job done. In Java, you have to import a library for that. I'm not sure about what library it is because I don't know Java, but you have to import library for that, and then you have to do system.log.out. Something. You have to do a very big fill.
Okay.
So verbose is basically
So like
meaning
closing a function in Python. As we close the function in Python, we should do the same thing for Java. As it's a big process.
yeah. I guess you have the point, but the thing is you have to do write a lot more than what you have to do in Python. In Python, it's simply
Okay,
print
sir.
the
Yeah,
string.
just a single line, sir.
Yeah, just a single line. Yeah, it's just a single line. And did you just call me sir? Because I'm not sir. This can be, you guys can be informal, right? Because I'm also a student. I'm a third year student.
So verbose means it's a big process, like a paragraphs we should write for a single thing.
Yeah, you have to write a very big paragraph kind of thing. You have to write more lines, more number of words to just get a single thing done, right? So that is verbose. Java is really verbose. You don't have the different structure that you have in Python. You have to write everything inside a class. So someone is asking it out. Can Python be used in solving questions during? Yeah, as I said, a company would never force you to do on this particular programming language. The company will check you to write a pseudocode if you guys know what it is. And some companies might force you, but tech giants mostly won't like force you to write in either one single language or not. It will just check your knowledge as for how you can approach the problem, whether you approach the problem in a better way or not. So it really relies on mathematics and how you solve the problem. So just if there's something you take away from this thing, this orientation on the whole, okay. Remember this, okay? Your language doesn't matter. Language is just like how you talk, right? I'm talking in English, right? I can say the same thing in Tamil also, or maybe Telugu or Hindi, right? So, do you guys have any doubt? So I'll wait for 5 or 10 seconds. If you have any doubt, you can unmute and talk, or you can put in the message. If any part of me explaining is not clear, just ask it. I'll just. CodeChef's problems are very tough. Yeah, CodeChef problems are actually very tough. It's because there are different platforms, and CodeChef is kind of different. It's because it'll promote you and encourage you to write robust solutions by covering all the edge cases, all the corner cases. But some other platforms will not actually force you to do that. Should we learn more languages or algorithms? Yeah, that is a very big question, and it's really out of scope, and I cannot talk about that. As for what? As for but I'll give you a better example for this. You have to learn more languages and more tools so that you can have a better life in the tech field, so that they can work with many different technologies, right? So yeah, I think Nimish already stopping me.
Yeah, Shishan, if I may,
yeah,
guys, we'll answer all of your questions after we finish the slides, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we will get to all of your questions today.
By the way, Ganesh, I'll note your question. I'll talk at the end. Okay, so as I was saying, languages are more important, tools are more important, algorithms are important to solve problems, so that will help you in interview and other places also. For example, if you work in a place, maybe in a company, and that company is providing solutions based on optimizations and some other thing, then algorithms does require. So basically, the short version is it depends on your job. If your job requires you to have more algorithmic knowledge, you need that. If your job does not require you to have algorithmic knowledge, you don't. Okay, so I guess it's already 15 minutes and I'm talking for a long time. So I'll note all your questions and we'll answer that by the end of the session. So if you have any question, you can also shoot it in between. We'll note it. Okay, so without further ado, we'll go to the most awaited part of the center orientation, shall we?
Yeah. Now that we know the what and the why of competitive programming, let's move on to the next segment of the event, which is interaction with the seniors. You know of Karthik, a core team member who got placed in PayPal. He also secured AIR 35 in the HashCode 21 and is here to address the crowd. Karthik Anna, over to you.
Hello all. Okay, today I'll start with how was my journey. So basically, first of all, we have 4 years of engineering, right? So you just take out that last year. 4th year is nothing, there's nothing to do much in the 4th year. So you have 3 years, and in the you have 3 years, but in the 3rd year, 2nd semester, you'll have the placements. So you even have to take out that. So there's nothing to, you cannot prepare more during the 3rd year, 2nd semester. So how much time do you have from the time you join the college to the 3rd year, 1st semester, right? So now I'm going to crisply tell what I've done in each year: 1st year, 2nd year, and 3rd year, 1st semester. So, and what, as a result of all that, what happened, and what a plan of action you should have. So that is what you have to understand from my journey. That is what we'll try to conclude. What should be your plan of action today? So coming to 1st year. So I was in ECE and I was interested in EEE, but in my 1st semester I was introduced to C language. So this is where I got interested into the coding, and I made a move to CSC. And what did I do in terms? So all I'm saying this to just tell that I'm interested into the coding. Logical coding, this logical coding part. And okay, what did I do specifically in terms of coding in the 1st year? So I've just done the C lab and C++ lab. Only these 2 things are related to the coding, and everything else is just the normal academic. So nothing much there. Now this is about 1st year, and what happened in the 2nd year. So in the 2nd year, I had Java, Java lab. So that is something related to coding. And we also have algorithms lab. So that is something related to coding. Additionally to this, what did I do? I've done some basic practice on the Hacker Rank. So Hacker Rank is like a very basic platform, and you just have to do the there's only some getting into this world of coding that happens with the Hacker Rank. So what I've done over my second year, but what all I've done in the Hacker Rank, all those things can be done within 3 weeks or 4 weeks if you sit strongly. So within 3 or 4 weeks you can complete that. So there's nothing much I've done in the second year as well. But by the end of second year, so at the end of second year, what happened is I got a friend. So I've collaborated with my batchmate Prithvi, who is also a part of the CodeChef team. So this collaboration was like the turning point for me. Before this, there was nothing much I've done in the coding, and after this, like that is at the end of second year and the beginning of the third year, a lot preparation has happened. So in the after we got collaborated, we became more productive, and we were solving many questions. And basically at that point of time, I was doing it on HackerEarth. This HackerEarth is again another coding platform. So on HackerEarth, we were doing questions, and mostly like we used to do the same question. We used to pick a question. I used to try to solve it, write the code for it, solve in the sense, write the code. And Prithvi used to solve it, and we used to exchange our solutions, like what the approach I have followed and what the approach Prithvi has followed. And sometimes we both might not have got the solution. We have discussed, we have brainstormed, and that way we arrived at a solution. So most of my preparation has been in the third year, first semester. That is exactly the semester before the placements. So in the third year's first semester, like most of my day went into the brainstorming. So like if you take a particular day, 80% of the day was like into the brainstorming, only brainstorming ideas about the coding, picking up the questions, and most of the basic concepts, from the basic concepts to till graphs and trees, everything I've covered only in one semester, which was really a heavy burden on me. And it comes with a lot of pressure and nervousness and a lot of stress as well. So this is what, like, I want to, this is kind of a red flag. I don't want you to do this. So now after the third, so most of my preparation has been in the third year first semester. Now in the third year second semester, we had the placements. So PayPal was the first company to complete its entire procedure. It has conducted online exams, and then after results, then after first technical interview, second, third technical interview, and results of final selection. So all this happened in the 3 days. So some companies will complete the entire procedure in 3 or 4 days, and some other companies like TCS, it takes 15 days. Like in the starting date, puts the exam. After 4 or 5 days, it gives the exam results, online coding round results, and like next interviews, and a little more time for the interview results and final results, like that. So this is what happened. So okay, see, these all questions, please say PayPal CGPA criteria. We'll all pick these questions at the last. Fine. First, I and my fellow seniors, I mean my fellow friends, will be telling their own experience. At last, we'll be picking questions, right? Okay, Hariom will be picking at last. So on a whole, what happened? So I was interested in coding. Second thing is, I had a collaboration. This is one more important point. And third thing is, most of my practice fell into the third year first semester. And luckily or unluckily, I don't know that, I mean at times luckily I got anchored properly. So because of all this, even though I haven't started much earlier, because of getting anchored properly, good has happened at the end. Like I was able to get placed. So I don't want you to have this kind of red flags. So from my journey, from my learning path, what you can take is, early starting of coding will give a edge for you. So what kind of edge? What kind of edge you will have when you start early is, if you start today, if you start coding today or practicing the CP, 3 to 4 months down the line, you will be able to casually solve the questions which seems to be hard or above average to all others. So that is one thing. And see, CP is like a progressive work. You have to take it through like over a time period. If you do it, if you do it within 3 months before the placement or 6 months before the placement, what happens is you don't get all the benefits of the CP. See, CP is not only for the placements. It's as Srishan said in has shown in the slides. It's like it improves your logical thinking. It makes you think better. So it helps in every aspect of life, and specifically about the academics. Like it also helps in your development career, and moreover, and one of the important thing like is placement. You get a higher chances of getting placed easily. So that happens with the CP. So what I ask you to do is start early and be consistent. So starting early is the decision you have to take now. And how can you be consistent and disciplined? So that is where the Coach of Sastra club comes. So they will be rolling out many learning programs and learning schedules, and you have to adhere to those activities. And there are people who tied their mobiles to their hands and waiting for your questions. So to reply all the coding doubts related to coding or something related to tech or anything like into the coding journey, CP journey, or maybe how the placements go like that. So people are there ready. Just utilize this chance, and that's it. What all I want to say. Yeah, Sangamesh, that's all.
Thank you, Anna. I would now like to hand over the dais to Prithvi, the former CP lead, who also got placed in PayPal and secured AIR 35 in HashCode 21. Anna, over to you.
Yeah, hello all. Like my journey, if I want to say my journey, it will be similar to Karthik because we were together in our journey. So from beginning to end. So let me tell you a few points where I was different from him. Like, can I know more about how to make good resume for placement?
Yeah, it's okay, bro. I'm taking on all the questions. You just continue with your talk. We'll answer all the questions. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. So, like Karthik, I was also not into competitive programming and this in my until my fourth semester. Now our teachers used to say, like when they teach dynamic programming in class, they used to say solve some problems in dynamic programming. Like that, but you used to go to those websites. I used to go to those websites, and when I saw vectors in it, and I don't like what I know is what I learned in classes. So I don't know nothing else. So when I went into those websites, I use like they will have a pre-filled code and they will have some vectors in it. At that time I don't know what vector is. So like I used to close them. In fourth semester when lockdown started, like when we were in fourth semester, this happened. This pandemic happened. So when this happened, me and Karthik discussed it and we started competitive programming. Like we did array topics, like we selected array and we did it in HackerRates. So we solved so many, like the only thing that we are doing at that time was solving problems. Like there's nothing else we are doing. We are daily we will solve some problems and we will discuss them. That fourth semester break went like that. And in the starting of fifth semester, Deepak Srinivasan, who is the president of Coach of Sastra previously, arrived at me, like approached me asking if you want to be part of, like, do you want to be competitive programming lead at this chapter? I can say this was the turning point in my journey. Like it gave the reason why I have to do CP. Like otherwise I might not have taken up this, but because I was in this, I have to do. There was no other go. But I can say that this was the reason that I got some placement, or I was good now. Like I was in good position now. This 1 year that I spent with Coach of Sastra was the amazing time of my entire 3 years. That make me who I am now. So what we used to do in, like, there was, if you see our Discord channel, there was some channel called Brain Gym. If you are wondering what is it, like we conducted some event called Brain Gym where every week we took up some topic and we gave learning resources and we conducted contest also on that. So for curating that material, I worked a lot along with Karthik and Arjun, who is the present president of Coach of Sastra. We worked a lot for curating those content, and that was the time where I learned a lot. So first week, if you have to keep array, like if the array was the topic for the present week, we used to go to all the resources that were available for array and we used to solve the problem, like we used to discuss the sort of approach, and we used to pick some problems and we used to give it to students. So we worked a lot compiling these resources. That helped me a lot, and I covered almost all topics in my third year because of this. Yeah, that's it. I can say, like, this was my journey. Like, entire third year went that way, and before placements, we Karthik, me, and Danish, who is also 4-star in CodeChef, we formed a group and we used to practice a lot together. So then it helped it helped as a last minute preparation for placements, and I did well in placement rounds, and I got into PayPal. Now, coming to suggestions that I can give to you, I can say first one was find a teammate. It was very, very important to find a teammate. Okay, choose a teammate who is in the same level of you, and you should be like, if someone was very good at if someone was lazy, and if someone won't skip something, like, let's say, I was very lazy. Okay, so if I don't think much, like, I can think much but I won't think. So, but if you take Karthik, he don't go forward without solving every test, like, what happens if this happens, what happens if this, like, without solving all this he won't move forward. I don't consider all this because of lazy. So we made a good pair because he used to insist me to do think about that, and I used to think about that, like that. So find a good teammate. It will help a lot. Okay, and another second suggestion I will give is be active in community. Like, someone mentioning that I don't have some good people to discuss things about. Deepak Lakshman, I guess, he's saying he was not able to discuss about these things with some people. Like, you don't have a team to discuss and all. So what we can do for that is use our community. Like, we are building. It's not like other teams where we conduct some sessions and nothing after that. There is like, we leave. It's not like that. We are building community to increase CP culture in our college. Our main aim is to improve CP culture. So we are ready to help you. Everyone, like, you also can help somebody else who has doubt. Like, if someone asks their doubt in our community, if you know that answer, you can help, so that we will be like, we have so many people working behind us to move forward. Another one was to attend contests regularly. Like, be consistent. Take CodeChef and Codeforces. Don't be like, as Arjun once said, I remember, he said something like, development, people like development and people don't like the CP because development gives immediate results. So you will be happy seeing the design, the code you written, like, the design you did coming on the website, like that. It will give you so much happiness. But CP won't give you immediate results. Okay, like, when you saw, it will give you a lot of stress also. Like, if your rank decline in one contest, you will have so much stress, and like, it is not easy in the initial days, but it's not easy in the initial days. But when you solve the problem, that feel, I was saying, that feel you never get anytime. Like, when you solve a DP problem, or when you solve some problem, you feel the idea was very nice. That pleasure and that fun, you will never get. You are going to miss that if you didn't pursue it after initial stress you get. Like, when you are so that stress was okay. If everyone feels that, say okay to it and go forward. Don't stop in the initial days. Initial days will be tough. Accept it and go forward. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Find a teammate. Be active in community. And don't take stress negatively. It is okay. It is okay to not to solve a problem. It is okay to solve only one problem in a contest. Participate in contests regularly. It's not going to, like, it's better to participate and not do a problem than not participating at all. Okay. and try to solve problems after the contest. Discuss problems in the community or first with your teammate. Okay, it will help you a lot because you can pitch anything to your friend, your partner. So after that, our community also is okay. Like our community, we are going to build community. Okay, it's our community. Feel free and ask your questions in that. Yeah, that's it. Sangamesh, you can take.
Thank you, Now. Next up, we have Shweta, former media and the outreach lead, who got various offer letters from top MNCs like Sigma, Verizon, and Cognizant. Shweta Ka, the dais is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Sangamesh. That was one hell of an introduction. That's actually, a great thing to get. It's not actually a great thing to get offered by lots of MNCs companies. You just have to make sure that there's one offer which you are fully satisfied with, and the number of offers don't matter at the end of the day because you're going to be working only for one company. So, as usual, Karthik and Prithvi, you guys have rocked it as usual, giving us a great start for the event and. Wonderful session as of now. The juniors have been doing good. All the best to everyone who's over here. So starting with my journey in competitive programming, I was pretty late to the party. Very, very, very late than Prithvi and Karthik. I started, in my third year, maybe in the second semester starting only. I was pretty late to start competitive programming, and that is the reason I would suggest you all guys to not follow the same path I am in. You should pick up your pace a bit earlier. Make sure that you are very well and well settled and early into what you're going to be doing, because when I had a heads up only when there was a call for placements. Okay, so placement is coming, I have to start studying competitive programming, I have to study CS subjects, this, that. So there was a lot in my plate at the end when it came to placement session. So I would suggest you not to do the same thing. Start your journey pretty early, like how Karthik and Prithvi already had briefed about that. You can just start with a few problems, and initially there's no guarantee that you'll become an expert in a 1 month or 2 month time, because a road to competitive programming is a never ending journey. You just have to learning is the key in competitive programming, and that is what will help you progress, and that is the thing which will take you step by step into what you desire. So you just need to have a lot of patience for that. That is the key in this programming world. So coming to my experience, I told I was very late, and I was my plate was full. I had to look into all the topics all at once. So I would suggest you not to do that. Make sure you practice at least 2 coding problems, like how my friends told. Pick up a teammate, pick up partner. Make sure you guys are consistent in what you do. That is also another key for programming, and you have to be you have to make sure that both of you are doing well. And when you team up, automatically you get the motive to do more codes, because when you solve a coding problem, it not only helps you to get the desired output, but also it helps you think out of the box. It also helps you to solve your real world problems as well. So logically thinking, this practicing competitive programming not only helps you for placement, it also helps you to open up your boxes. Make sure you are very good in solving the real world problems as well, because that's what the interviewers expect from you too. They don't expect you to give you a proper output or solve all the test cases they've given, or that is not at all what they expect. They expect you to approach a problem in a very good manner. Make sure that you give your the clearance is good. Make sure you have your ideas clear when you convey your problem to the interviewer. That is what they expect. They don't expect you to solve hundreds of problems at a time and you get all the problem output. That is not what they solve. So that's not what they expect to. You just have to make sure that your idea for the problem is clear, and whatever you convey to the interviewer, that has to be perfect and on point. That is that is one of the major things they also see. You need to have good communication skills as well. You have to make sure what you convey, they're able to understand what you're conveying from your side too, because we cannot make our answers satisfactory to all the people present in the panel. So you have to make sure your you're conveying is perfect, and at least you have to take too much efforts also to make sure that the other person who's interviewing you is able to understand what you speak. So that is an important aspect when it comes to interviews. And when it came to my interviews, these are the things that helped me ace it. And normally when you appear for an interview, you just have to be calm, because the other person who's interviewing you will also be in the same level of intelligence as you, even though they might be looking older than you, but their level of intelligence and their level of knowledge will always be equal. So you will never have to be in a position that this guy is well experienced, and he is already into an MNC working as an employee. You don't have to have the fear of that. You have to make sure that you communicate well, you're able to cheer up the interviewer from your side too. So that is what they expect in an interview. So that these are the points that help me ace my interviews as well. And as I said, the number of offers at the end of the day doesn't even matter. You just have to make sure you pick one company and see whether the role that they are offering is perfect for you, and if you are able to meet their requirements from their side as well. So I guess I've pretty much, and also I want you guys to be reminded that for the first 1.5 months when the placement season started, I had 0 offers in my hand. I had no offers. I didn't have PayPal. I didn't have all the top MNCs. They were all going out of my hand. I had nothing under control for the 1.5 months into the placement season. So there is some company written for you. There is already a company which is been put in, like how something is written for you already. You don't have to worry that, oh my god, 1.5 months have gone, 2 months have gone, 3 months have gone, what am I going to do now? I don't have any offers in my hand. The key to getting placed is patience. I never learned this until I didn't get placed for 2 months. After 2 months, I thought the companies are going to miss me. I am not going to be missing any companies. If you're not getting placed soon, doesn't even matter. I can guarantee you that Sastra will do everything from its end to, and CodeChef. That is why we have a platform called CodeChef. Regular practicing, and we are always available for you to make sure that you are comfortable in asking questions from your side. And we are 24/7 available, so don't call us at the 12 a.m. in the morning asking doubts. Just kidding. You can always go to the Discord server and make sure you put your doubts over there. We have a very good competitive programming team as well, and everybody over here is super talented, and every day has been a learning day for me. Every day I learn something or the other from these people, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Okay, weren't you depressed, and how did you come out? Yeah, it was depressing. Everybody got placed in the 1 month or 1.5 months, so it took some time for me to come out, but eventually you have to come out, because only when you break the wall that is in front of you, you'll be able to break more walls that come, right? You can't just stop just because the company rejected me. I have to stop. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can understand the level of panicking will be more, but at the end of the day, your goal is to get placed. Then you have to keep working hard, and you have to make sure you break how much ever walls come in front of you, and make sure you get that one dream company which you're always been working for from the starting. So you just have to make sure that you stay patient throughout the journey. And also, this is a never-ending journey. So every day is a new day. You have to learn every day. Make sure, like how Prithvi said, get a partner, team up with them, make sure you practice 2 to 3 questions a day. It's more than enough. You don't have to spend whole 24 hours doing competitive programming. Spend few hours, hours, make sure that you concentrate well, and make sure you brainstorm more with your friends. And that's pretty much what I want to tell from my side. I'm planning to do higher studies. Okay, so if you're planning to do higher studies, if you're totally decided that I'm not going to be appearing for placements, then I would suggest you to continue with your higher studies, because somebody who is not planning to do higher study will get a chance when you have backed out, right? So if you're clear in that aspects, then you can backward from placements. Or if you feel that I want to have an offer as a backup before I take up my higher studies, okay, you are welcome. That is up to you. But I would suggest you to concentrate on any one thing first. Don't have too much in your bag at a time. If you are planning to do your higher studies, then stick to that idea. Make sure you have one idea, one goal, which is your short term goal. So. How did you practice data structures before doing CP? Okay, so you just have lots of YouTube channels, and as well as I told, this CodeChef has been a great platform for me to get me started too. So that is why we encourage you to make sure you're active in the community. You make sure that you do practice regularly, and like I said, 2 to 3 problems a day. Pick up a topic in data structure. Start with the stacks or queues or linked list. Start with all the basic topics, and make sure you do all the familiar problems first, and then move on to the hard ones. Okay, will higher studies help for better placements? I'm not sure about that question, but if your short-term goal is to do higher studies, then go with that. And I'm sure whatever you do next will always be in your favor. So make sure not to have too much things going on at a time. And that's it. That's all what I wanted to tell. If you have any doubts, we'll be taking it up at the end of the session. Over to you, Sangamesh.
Yeah, can you suggest some YouTube channels or some resources where we can learn coding in this holiday period?
Okay, we have taken up your question and we'll answer it at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sangamesh?
Thank you, seniors, for your inspiring, motivating, and kind words. If there is one thing that is common in all of them, it's a dedication towards DSA and practice. To summarize the entire half an hour, what are the 3 golden words? DSA and practice. So how do you go about it? How to get started? First, learn a programming language. As Shishan suggested, go with C++. Then choose a platform. Once you're through, get your hands super dirty in DS and algorithms. Now comes the main part. There is no substitute to practice. So keep practicing. Once you're confident enough, attend contests, learn from your mistakes made during the contest. But most importantly, keep the fun up and the adrenaline pumping throughout this process. Now, I know that's too much to absorb. That's why we at CodeChef Sastra are here to help you out with it. So what do? While we are here, we promote the coding culture. While not here, we pass on the legacy to the next set, thus completing the entire loop. And what are we doing currently to promote the coding culture? A lot of you had a lot of concerns on how to get started. Don't worry. Shweta from second year, the events coordinator, will let you just know that. Shweta, over to you.
Thank you, Sangamesh. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shweta, and as Sangamesh told, we have something really big planned for you all. As now we know the importance of competitive programming is, it's pretty natural to have doubts like, where do I get started with competitive programming, or where can I learn DSA, or where can I get my doubts cleared, right? So we at CodeChef Shastra is here with this new course on DSA, that is Data Structures and Algorithms, that is the Road to CP. Here, you get to learn a lot of data structures and algorithms every week, and we will also be providing you with some of the best resources available. In this weekly sessions, we will be covering each topic in depth, solve easy to hard problems, and also pick some of the famous interview problems. The sessions are going to be really interactive. Now, if you have doubts during the session, you can ask it in the then and there, or if you have doubt after the session or even while solving a question, you can always use our Discord server, which you can ask any kind of doubts, and you have people to help you out. Now, we will also be giving you the registration form for the course. This course will be really helpful for you guys. Now, I've seen a lot of people asking how to go about it, or how to go start learning it. And some people also asked which language should I use and all. So everything we hear, it is in this course, we won't be concentrating on a particular language. It will be language neutral. So we will just teach you how to go about a DSA, and each topic will be taught in depth. But what is important is you have to be consistent. Keep practicing and participate in contests. Keep learning with us, and you will definitely see positive results. Now, my friend and co-team member at Shastra, Sriram, will give you a brief overview about the registration and the platforms available to practice competitive programming. Over to you, Sriram.
Yeah, thank you, Sita. As we have seen right till now, that is all the learning part, like learning a language, learning DSA, learning everything, learning, I mean, being consistent and all. But what is the key to mastering DSA is the real question. As I've also seen in the a couple of you have also posed the same question, like you have been learning some language or something, but you don't know the way, you don't know the platforms to practice in. So here are the platforms, guys. There are many platforms available on the market, but these are the topmost platforms. There is CodeChef. There is Code Forces, Top Coders, Pod, and Geeks for Geeks. I personally recommend going about CodeChef and Code Forces for practice, and for algorithms you can go with Geeks for Geeks. Now the thing is, we all know that another thing is, let's see how can we get started in Code Forces. So yeah, when you go to this website called CodeChef, this is how it feels. Sorry. So this is the URL to the website CodeChef, which is one excellent resource to practice. And 1 second, let's see if I can log out. Yeah. So this is how it feels when you first enter the website. To get started, if you are a new user, you can register by clicking on the new user menu. Okay. There you can find options like you can log in through Gmail. You can use your GitHub profile to log in. You can also use a Facebook account to log in. Else, you can just enter your details like username, full name, and all, and then click on register to get registered. Okay. Since we're done with the registration part, and then we'll log in. So once we've logged in, this is the home page that you all see. As you can see, this is the home page. There is this practice and learn option where you can practice multiple questions, and there is this compete option where you can compete in contests, which is equally important as practice. So let's first see how to solve a question, or how can we get to the practice questions. Okay. So once you click on the practice questions, there is this tab called practice problems by difficulty level. Once you've clicked on it, you'll be navigated to this page. Where every question is sorted in the ascending order of difficulty. Like usually the first question you see is the easiest mostly. Today I'll be taking up this question called add two numbers, just to give you a gist of how the problem statement would be. Yeah. So this is the problem statement actually. Also, a point to note here is usually the problem statement comes with a story in it. Like it has no information in it, but just to give some intuition about this, the CodeChef just adds the story to the problem statement. But in this statement, the story is that Shivam is the youngest programmer in the world. He's just 12 years old. So I mean, what do you guys have from this? I mean, you need not read this to solve the problem. But what is the actual problem statement? The task is very simple. Given the two integers, you have given two integers. You just need to write a program to add these two integers and then print the output. So this is the actual problem statement, and this is the story or the intuition that you need. Yeah. So let's just get to the input tab. What does this have? Input tab consists of the variables you need, the variables that you'll be getting from the judge. So yeah, the first line, as you can see here, the first line should contain an integer t, which is the total number of test cases. And then there are two integers a and b. So what does the a and b do? We should add up the a and b and then output the result that is given in the output statement. For each test case, add a and b and display the output in a new line. Remember this new line, guys, because this is a real game changer. I once have been stuck in a problem without seeing that. So yeah, these are the constraints. For now, since it's a simple problem, I don't think you need to focus too much on the constraints. But sometimes what happens is, if you do not have a great insight of, there's a concept called time complexity, okay, where these constraints really come in hand.
if the constraints are pretty large, then it is obvious that the computer or the computer takes a lot of time to execute. Okay. As you can also see here, there is a time limit. The time limit for this particular question is 1 second. If the constraints are pretty big, okay, you have to optimize your solution such that everything works in the given time limit, and you should also keep in mind that you shouldn't exceed the memory limit. Okay, so I'll just show you the code to the first question. Yeah, this is the code to the first question. As you can see, this is simple. I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. So this is a simple C++ template. I'm not going into the details of this, but let's see the core logic behind it. Okay. So as you can see, as I've already said you that in the input format, you should take the number of test cases in the first line. That's what I did here. Okay, cin is just a way of taking input in C++, and then I've taken input from I've taken input for A and B, and then I've added them, stored in a variable answer, and now I'm printing this answer. So this is the basic algorithm of the core logic here. Let's see if I can run this off. Okay, so here if you come down, there are 3 options. One is open file, in which you can also upload this code. Like if you have some personal ID on your laptop and you prefer coding in that ID, you can always save a file and then upload to CodeChef by this option called open file. And then there is run. Okay, what you can do in run is you can actually test for some custom inputs. Like let's say that I have 3 test cases. I need to add 1, 2, 2, 3, and 3, 4. If you click on run, sorry guys, give me a moment. Yeah, my bad, it was the network troubling, I guess. So yeah, as I was saying, you can give your custom output here. And then if you click on run, the solution will be the solution will run against the following test cases, and yeah, here you go, the output of the solution. If you add 1 and 2, you get 3. If you add 2 and 3, you get 5. If you add 3 and 4, you get 7. So once you're pretty good, like pretty confident about the solution, you can click on submit to submit the solution.
Ram, can you show how to change language? Like if I want to do code in Python, where should I switch it to Python?
Yeah, 1 second. So yeah, as you can see, my code is absolutely correct and it ran perfectly. Now, what if you want to code in Python? Okay, so there is this tab called, there's this tab in the front that says C++ GCC 6.3. If you click on it, there will be a drop down where you can see multiple languages. As you can see, Java is there, Python 3.6, C++ 17 is there, C# is there, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can always navigate or switch between languages by using this. Yeah, so that's how you basically change the language. So yeah, enough since we've seen how to solve a problem, let's also see the outcomes of submission. Okay, so these are the various outcomes of submission. As you can see, the solution I've submitted is actually is correct to the question, so I got accepted as an outcome of submission. What if your solution is wrong, or what if instead of addition in our question you did subtraction? Okay, then obviously you would get a wrong answer. So that is this wrong answer thing. Now to get into this compilation error, it has something to do with your language. Okay, let's say that for every language there is this set of grammar rules called syntax. What if you made some grammar rules? What if you made some errors in writing code? Let's say that you forgot semicolon at some statement. Okay, so now what do you get? We get a compilation error. Okay, moving forward, we have this time limit exceeded error. As I've already shown you, the time limit to the problem that I've just shown you is 1 second. What if you exceed the time limit? Okay, you'd get this error saying that your program is not running in the prescribed time. That is, you have to optimize your solution to make it run into the prescribed time. Okay, the same goes with the memory limit. Okay. Now, what is this runtime error? This runtime error has nothing to. I mean, if a code is perfectly syntactically correct, okay, but it fails for some test cases while it is running, then it will throw you some runtime error. An example for runtime error would be like for every program there will be some memory allotted to it. If you try to access the memory which is not allotted to the program, or if you try to access some negative bytes of memory, okay, that is where this runtime error, you'll get this runtime error. So that's pretty much about how to get started on Codeforces and solve your first problem. And also don't forget, as many of our seniors and my co-friends have already informed you, practice makes perfect, right? Like if you do consistent practice and give contests every day, like not every day, I mean, whenever there is a contest, you try attending contest, analyze yourself, like where you're failing and all. Okay, so if you can analyze yourself, perfect it with practice, and you're ready to go. You can be a master at CP. Thank you guys. That's all it. Now I'll ask my friend Sangamesh to continue.
Thank you, Sriram. We now open the floor to questions, but before that, we'll first ask the previously asked questions. You can either turn on your mics or simply post it on the chat box. Now our seniors will answer all the questions.
Before going to questions, like I have some request for you. We are going to start the session from next week, right? So like invite all your friends to the party now, like, because when we are started, it will, if some of your friends want to join, it will be difficult for them. So share it with your friends and make it big. Okay, we are very happy to see your responses, your enthusiasm in the meet, and share it to your friends and make it big. Okay, yeah, that's it. We can.
And also, I'll be sharing the registration link in the chat box, and we'll also be circulating it in the WhatsApp groups and Discord servers. So yeah.
Yeah, we can start questions.
So who wants to take questions? I'll read questions one by one. So if anyone wants to answer the question, you guys can. If you cannot, and I try my best to answer the question. So the first question is
before that, it looks like Gunavan's been raising his hand a couple of times.
What? Yeah, someone was raising my hands, right?
Yeah, we'll start with him, or
we'll start with him.
Thanks for the explanation by all the seniors. Like, I have a question. Like, whenever I attempt a problem in the CoachF website, like, it takes me a lot of time, like, to approach. Like, my doubt is, how should I approach the problem at first? Like, what all should I do at first so that I can come up with the solution in a quick manner?
Okay, can I answer this? Is it okay if I answer this?
Yeah,
okay, sure. So I'll give you a very rough sketch, Gunavan. So the basic thing is, when you are on 7th grade, there's no chance that you have never heard of integration, right, or differentiation. So in that step now, the thing is, only if you attend more problems and then get to know the intuition behind the solution or the approach, you'll be able to answer more questions. So the thing is, you are in a stage where you don't know many concepts. Like, let us consider a concept called X, right? So you don't know that the name of the concept is X because you don't even know that X exists, right? So for you to start solving problems, you need to first go inside the forest, explore yourself, right? If you cannot solve the problem, it's totally fine, okay? Even the best people who I've seen in competitive programming, like people like Eric To, even they said that if you cannot solve the problem, it's fine. After like few hours, if you feel like giving up, just check the solution, okay? Because consider yourself to be a 8th grade student and you're trying to solve an integration problem. You cannot, right? Because you don't even know something like integration exists at that time, right? So only by solving more questions, you'll get to know about more different ideas, different approaches, the intuition behind it. The main thing that Arjun would say, Arjun is the president, he's not this, as he's very busy, so he's out of session. He'd usually say that I don't like tutorials which just explain the solution. I want tutorials and explanations which explain the intuition behind why we are doing this. That's the most important part. So when you don't, if you're not able to answer the question, just check the answer, okay? It's not a problem. It's not in the competition, okay? It's not in the contest. Just if you're solving for practicing, just check the answer and then try to check try to get the intuition behind why they are doing this. Like, if you're adding two numbers, why are you adding? Like, ask the question why, that help you a lot. You understand, right? So only when you know a lot about this, you'll learn a lot. Okay. The main thing that I have to say is this entire community, when you come inside this CS, this community, developer community, there will be one word. Okay, this is like the most important point that you need to listen. There'll be one word. Okay, if you know this one word and if you type it in Google, you'll get everything that you know. But just because you don't know this one word, you'll be explaining this problem to someone else, and it will take so much time for you to for someone to say that, hey, this problem is very common. This is known as this and that word. Okay, so let me be X. Okay, so until you know the word that has a name that is X, it will be very hard for you. You'll go to the Google and then you'll try explaining your problem. Okay, and then some guy, some good person, good soul will say that this is a very common problem that everyone faces, and it is known as, and then the name, right? So when you go and type the name, you will get everything based on that. So that's what I'm saying. So until unless you know that there is something like this exists, you have no idea, right? So if you don't get intuition, it's not a problem. Okay, just chill. You'll get better eventually, right? Everyone will get better as they progress, as they gain more experience, right? It's fine then. I'll read the first question as of now. What kind of specs in PC we mostly require for high-level programming? So I'll answer this question. So as for specs, yeah, you can run on any computer. If you don't have a computer, you can also use an online compiler. I'm pretty confused about what high-level programming is, because as far as we are concerned, CP does not require any high. I don't know what high-level programming is, but you do not need any dependencies for CPs. So you just need a plain language implementation, and then you need to have some IDE text editor to get it working. So yeah, I guess
I could probably elaborate on that question a little bit.
Okay.
If the person wants to know about high performance computing, that involves parallel processing and multiple threading and running on clusters, and that is out of the scope for your bachelor syllabus. So you don't need to worry about it for now. If
that's what you're referring to, then it is absolutely out of scope, because competitive programming, as I said, was based on math and how you solve the problems. It is not about how you parallelly solve problems, how to use parallel execution policies. Okay, so you cannot run in parallel as far as CP is concerned. So I think there'll be limitations that people like us don't do parallel executions on competitive contests, because you'll gain an unfair advantage. So you'll have at least only one single thread allotted for you for your judge, I believe. So if that's what you're referring to as high level programming, then we're not allowed to do that. It's out of the scope. And as for the PC specs, you can just have a laptop. The basic laptop would do, because it's the compilation is basically CPU dependent, and the CPU is, if CPU is decent enough, it's so fine. If it is not decent enough, then it's also fine. You can get started. Okay, so, the best thing is to get started. So PC specs doesn't matter actually. So I think Shweta, can you take down all the questions that is currently coming? I'll go to the next question. Second question. Python is there.
I'll do that, Sri.
Python is there, which is very near to us for better understanding. So why big people still prefer to go with C++ and C++? Does anyone want to take a question? Take this question.
Yeah, can I take that? Because I am a Python developer.
You're a Python developer. Nice.
Yeah. So see, where is the question? Could you like copy paste it again, Shishan?
Okay, I'll read the question and then copy paste it both. I'll do both. So I'm pasting the question in the chat now. Python is there, which is very near to us for better understanding. So why big people still prefer Python to go Python over C and C++?
All right. So again, the whole notion of big people preferring C and C++ is mainly there because most of the antiquated code bases are written in C and C++. For the most part, people like me, we end up writing API wrappers around the C++ libraries and interface with them directly from Python. So again, it's easier to understand the logic of how you're going to approach a problem in Python as compared to C++. But when it comes to, executing within a particular time limit, and when you want things to run very, very fast, in that case, going through C++ is always better because it is a compiled language, whereas Python is interpreted. Interpreted languages are inherently slow. So yeah, that I guess that answer is good enough.
To add a CP perspective to that, why big people in competitive programming prefer C++ is that everyone thinks in C++ in competitive programming. Like editorial, they will give in C++. When some problem setter was setting a solution, setting a question, mainly like he uses C++, right? So he will have what C++ can do in mind, and he will give problems. Like mostly everyone thinks in C++ while giving problems or while explaining solutions. If someone asks, like editorials will be mostly in C++. Like that, everything will be in C++ in CP. So mostly big people in competitive programming prefer C++.
Also,
starting off-
it's like I would just like to add a point. Also, it's like if you use C++, there's a greater control of what kind of logic you're putting in. Like when it goes to other things, I mean other languages, if they are like if there are any inbuilt functions, you don't have much control of internal details and like how exactly it's happening. In C++, you write every code, even for basic things also you just have to write code, you have to write the repetitive stuff like that. So they are less inbuilt, and when we talk about inbuilt, we have, however, there's a good support from the STL as well. Yeah, that's it.
So we'll go to the next question. Is are data structures important to learn? So I'll take this question. It's very simple. So let's consider that you have 1,000 elements. Okay, so you need to find one element. So as for you, you can just simply see keep the 1,000 elements in front of you, and then you can see. But for the computer, it needs to traverse an array, right? So 1,000 elements will be stored in an array, and then the computer needs to traverse an array. So this basically means that for you to implement an algorithm, you'll at least need one data structure, right? So data structures and algorithms go hand in hand, right? So for you to implement an algorithm, you need to know a basic knowledge of what data structure that the algorithm requires, and then you need to be able to use the data structure in your program, right? So let us consider that you have a map, and then you need to find a shortest distance between two paths. When you implement that problem in your computer, you need to have a good experience and knowledge in graphs, because that's how graphs work in computers, and you need to that's how the algorithm for shortest path works on computer, right? So you need to know graph. So as for data structures importance, significance in this CP, it's very important. It's because most algorithms require you to at least have a knowledge of one data structure, like an array, a stack, a queue, and then we have W-init queue, we have single linked list, we have graph, and then we have trees, heaps, right? So we have so many data structures, and it depends on the algorithm that you're using. So if specific algorithm set X requires you to have a knowledge of specific data structure Y, then you need to know that. So I think that's okay for this question. So there was another question which I was answering. Should we learn more languages or algorithms? As I was talking, it totally depends on you, right? It totally depends on you, your interest, and your job. So if a job wants you to have more algorithmic knowledge, you need to have that. If a job does not need that, if it wants you to have more knowledge on designing, then you need to have that. Okay, so it basically depends on what job you're going to get and your interest. Because if you're interested in algorithms, you can learn algorithms, and you can look for a job, and you can take a job that is more into algorithms rather than languages. If you're interested in languages, you can also take higher studies and then do language design type theory, and then you can get a job on that, right? So everything that you ask is dependent on your interest and your life, right? So the basic thing is no two person are same, right? So there are different interests, and then there are different story. So don't think that just because someone else has a story, you should have the same story, right? Your life is very much different from other people. So you don't have to worry about more languages or more on algorithms. You just do what you like, and then you'll be happy at the end of the day. That's the takeaway. So please say PayPal CGPA criteria is 8. And then I want to stress on one thing. If there are like 500 people applying from our college and all of them have met the criteria of 8 CGPA, the company may or may not change the criteria. Like PayPal can suddenly increase from 8 to 8.25, right? The base condition is 8 this year. So next year maybe it will be 8. But if there are 500 people applying for PayPal and all those 500 have more than 8, then it may change. I guess Prithvi can explain.
Yes. It actually depends entirely on company. You can't fix that. Like previously, our seniors used to told us 7.5 will be enough. No company ask about 7.5. But this year, because there is like what we call everyone's CGPA was a little high, so some companies were asked 8.5 also. Like there were 3 to 4 companies who asked 8.5 also. 8, like which it's fluctuating. It depends entirely based on how many people are satisfying the criteria set by company.
We'll go to the next question.
Like the company, 1 minute, Srishan.
Yeah.
Okay, the company will be like, see, in the very first round, they will be coming with this kind of numbers. Like they want to only connect the coding round for only 250 members or 300 members. And they will be setting the criteria such that only 250 members qualify that. So it works like that, right?
So coming to the question, good resume for placement. I will say 2 good projects will be enough for resume. Like your achievements in CP, like if you are doing some, if you have got some good rank in CP, you can put that. But having 2 projects is a must because you need to have something to discuss in the interview. Another thing, like for qualifying, DSA is very important. After going to interview, there also you need DSA, but along with DSA, they will ask projects. So it is good to have 2 good projects. It's enough to have 2 good projects, and it is a must to have 2 good projects. And some achievements are not mandatory; they will help. And if you are in some like how you working team, it should be shown to them, right? So it is preferable to have at least take part in one community like Daksh or Coaches Shastra or DSC. Like one is enough. Yeah, and it is not mandatory. There were many of my friends who are not there in anything, and it was not a big problem for them. But having one, we can talk about it in interview. Like we can brag about it in interview. Yeah. So having one is preferable.
Okay. Before we move on to the next question, I'll just say that as for 2 projects, make sure that if you're interested in front end, for example, then make sure that those 2 projects go hand in hand with your interest, right? So don't do some random projects just because someone else did that. Okay, so make sure that 2 projects are somewhere between your interest, right? So that's a very important thing. So we'll go to the next question, which is Bro suggest some website platforms to prepare aptitude questions. So can anyone take on the question?
Okay, I just want to tell about that. See, there's so many things to do. When it comes to placement, you have like aptitude and the basic coding and CSC subjects and like the CP part. Okay, so what happens is college will provide you with the placement preparation. So in that they will be covering this aptitude part. So if you are so weak only, then you can just go for separate aptitude practice. Otherwise, if you learn this aptitude stuff in the placement, I mean the training period, during that placement training period provided by the campus, that will be sufficient. If you feel that you're too low in maths or making faster calculations or some logic, you just go for aptitude. And coming to websites, the one which I didn't use, but it's a famously known as Indiabix or something. And that things you can find it on internet. If you just Google it out, someone has Shweta has posted Indiabix and Prepinsta. Okay, but if you are like basically good at aptitude, you can postpone that to training part provided by the college. Okay, that's it.
Okay, so moving on. So we have next. It's not exactly a question, but it's more. It looks like more of a concern. So I don't know any programming language yet. I'm learning the basics of C in YouTube. How can I learn where and what to practice? Please guide me. So it looks like guidance. So I'll keep it very short. Okay. So the thing is, you don't have to worry, right? So you don't have to worry. Like it's okay, right? So everyone has to start at some point, and it's better sooner than later, and it's better late than never, right? So don't worry if you're late. Okay, so we, as I said, as Shweta said, we are conducting a series where we take one topic and then we teach it every week, every Sundays, I believe. So keep attending that, solve questions, like check what you're interested in. So maybe as you go, like you may get develop an interest on some topic, so you can pursue the topic. So as for you don't know any programming languages, it's fine. You can start learning now. You can get a good grasp of any one programming language within maybe 4th year or something like that. I'm learning the basics of C in YouTube. My personal suggestion is don't learn from any Hindi YouTubers. Learn from any international YouTubers. That's the best thing I can do. And then if you feel YouTube is simple, you can do it. But my recommendation is go to read some documentation or some other websites, right? So basically avoid any Indian tutorials in YouTube. That'd be the best thing. C is a very good language. You can do that. Although I'd recommend like doing some other language, because C is really a low-level language. So the thing is, it's relatively low level that most of the companies don't prefer C, right? So if you go to any other company, they'll be having people working on some project on some other language, right? So I'm not saying that C is a bad language. I'm saying that C is not widespread. Like you cannot see C developers around you, like if you look around. So please guide me. we'll guide you. Don't worry. You can post any queries on the Discord server. We'll be conducting this series for like 8 weeks. I don't know for sure, but it'll be every week we'll have one session. So we're starting from basics and then we'll go progressively, right? So we'll go to the next question. Can you just give an outline on the basics thing that to get started in comp coding? Yeah, I guess this entire orientation was this. So the basics is you learn from scratch from algorithms, data structures. I'll post the question here. So can you just give an outline of the basic things to get started in competitive coding? Yeah, that's it. So you have to start with basics, arrays, data structures, and then you have to learn data structures, and then you have to learn algorithms. If you learn an algorithm, try implementing it. Okay, the best thing that people usually say is, like your parents used to say that, don't read max, just try solving problems. The same goes here. Don't just read the solutions, try to implement it yourself, right? It's okay if you just see and type the code, it's fine. At least you're typing it, right? So it's better than just seeing and then saying that I'll remember this, right? So this is the best thing. And then outline is you start from arrays, I believe, and then you go to strings, and then you'll see that we have outline for the series also. If you see the outline for the series, you'll get a pretty good idea of it. So I guess that question is done.
I will take Hari one question. I was good at problem solving, solved some 30 to 50 problems in LeetCode in last month. Can you tell me the product-based company CGPA eligibility criteria and mentions? So name companies. I have very low GPA. So if you have very low CGPA, my suggestion is ready to grab the first company you sit in. Okay, like you will get a chance. Definitely, you will get a chance. Ready to grab like you, as you are good in problem solving. Try to improve, improve your skill. Okay, and don't neglect CGPA also. Try to improve CGPA a little bit higher what you have now. And as you are mentioning, your strength is problem solving. Try to be very good at it. When you have chance, you grab it. My friend, there is like he has less than 7.5 CGPA. He was like he has chance to, like, the first company which he sat was Cisco, and he grabbed that. So you will be able to achieve get good companies even if you have low CGPA. Focus on your strengths for that. So because you need to be more precise than others, because they have many chances than what you have. So you should be ready to grab your first chance. Yeah.
So we'll go to the next question. So I guess it's getting pretty long, so I'll just make it short. Okay, so I'll just go to the next question, and then will higher studies help better for placements? Yeah, I cannot stress more on this topic, but the thing is, as I said, everyone has a different story, right? So I have heard stories where people go to higher studies and then they get like a mediocrely average increment over what a bachelor would do. And then I also heard stories where people go for higher studies and then they get like extremely good package, right? So it basically depends on you, where you go, which country you go, which university you go, how you work, and which department you're taking, which specialization are you taking. So if you go to CS, then you'll be more into education than of development itself, right? So most of the time when you see CS higher studies will be like a very general department called software development, and then everything else is more into theoretical computer science, right? So it basically depends on which field, which country, and a lot of other factors affect that one thing called placement and salary as for higher studies, right? So also it depends on which country you're going in, the state of country, and then how they welcome immigrants. So there is a lot of things that you need to know. So I think it's a very big topic. We cannot cover on that because we are basically focusing on competitive programming.
Like I will add one line to this one thing. Like you might get good package after going for higher studies, but you don't need to. Like you can grab good package in undergraduation also. Like you might. That's what I want to add. And Prince Robin's question, yes, some companies will come from both PG and undergraduation. Like when they are coming, they will have separate criteria and separate CTC for PG and UG criteria. Some companies.
Yeah, I just saw a question. If you have to know subjects other than coding or thing, so in the interview, basically, other than coding questions, they can ask you questions from Java, Python, networking, and OS, DBM. So these all you'll be having in your second and third year. TOC, adding TOC to that. So OOPS, TOC, yes, you'll need to know at least the basics of this, because the interview, they expect you to know the basics of these at least. So make sure you concentrate well on DBMS, OOPS, TOC, and SQL queries. These are the important topics where the interviewers focus, and you will have to know even networking and OS too. So make sure you cover these very good in your second and third years. We made a mistake of not going too much deep into that when we had our classes. So make sure that you're even listening to these subjects in detail when you have the classes for that. So that's all.
So I'll just cover 2 questions after this immediately. So at which year do you have internship? You can do internship at any year if you want, if you get a chance, right? So if you can do it in first year, second year, fourth year, anytime, even after the college, even after graduating, you can do internships. So as for internships, it depends. Like if the company is coming to a college for on-campus internship placement, you can get placed at that. You can get the chance by the start of third year, which which I'm in now. And if you don't want that, you can try off campus also. You can try it in the first year, or maybe not. Right. So let's go to the next question.
Just 1 second. I want to add one thing over here. You'll be getting internship opportunities in your third year as well. So if you get an internship opportunity in your third year, most probably they'll be converting it to a full time. So make sure you grab that opportunity. Well, the second years, currently who are in your second years, make sure you get very good hold of the internship opportunity which will be offered in your third years, because there are high chances that your internship will be converted to a full time. So make sure that you use that opportunity well.
Even before the placement starts, you will be placed if you get an internship. And most of them, like this in our batch, Fidelity has come and it has took 12 interns, and all the 12 interns have got the PPO, pre-placement offer.
Wells Fargo too. Fidelity and Wells Fargo have came.
To add on to that, not just companies which come for internships through Shastra, because I interned outside of my own accord as well, and they also gave me a PPO. So any internship you do, if you do it for like a decent amount of time and you work with them properly, they will give you a PPO.
Just a doubt, like when do they come for on-campus internship? Like will it be in the 5th sem or in the 6th sem?
5th sem.
5th sem. Now
now is actually the placement season. Like I'm in third year, so we got offers from Wells Fargo, Fidelity, Adobe for girls only, and then we also got Accenture. That's pretty much it. So it starts from third year itself. For placements, it starts from fourth year. Right. So if you're not interested in that, you can also try off campus. Right. Now next we have an interesting question. Yeah, no problems. So next an interesting question. What are the problems an EC graduate has to face if he wants to become a CPA master? So any EC graduates over here? Anyone from electrical department? It's because I cannot answer this because I'm from computer science.
EC no, but mechanical yes.
Naimish, yeah, you can answer.
Yeah, but I'm not EC, I'm mechanical here.
Oh, I'm sorry then.
Yeah.
I think we are not the best people to answer for on behalf of EC students, but the problem that they would be facing is more of they won't be having enough knowledge on coding, right? So I've seen
EC has a DSA paper as well.
Yeah, it has a DSA paper, but like if you see when on an average, if you compare that to an CSE student, it won't be good. So you have to learn a lot of things on your own. So
let me tell you one story. There was my friend from intermediate. He was in EEE, some other college. He did not start anything he was afraid of during his first semester. He did not start anything until third year, fifth semester. In fifth semester, he has one subject called computer organization. He really liked that computer organization subject, and he called me, and from then he started doing coding. Until then he know nothing about coding. From there he started. What helped him was he got offer from Japan with 60 CTC. Okay, he's from IIT. Okay, but what helped him was have a friend from CSE who can solve your basic doubts. In the beginning, it will be tough. Okay, but having a CSE friend who can solve your basic doubts will help you a lot. And after it will be like that only for one month or so. If you are consistent, if you are doing daily, and if you are asking him for 1 month or so, you will become very confident, and you can go forward along. Now in second year there was one guy called Sujit. He is also from ECE. I don't think he slided or not, but he is from ECE. He was able to carry on with CP. In the leaderboard, he will be in third or fourth position. every time, or first, second, third. Like so, he was able to do it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the summary is it doesn't matter which department you're from, right? Just because your department doesn't teach coding or programming in depth, it's not the case. Like I'll give you one simple example. Like a long time ago, I was checking some contest, and then the leaderboard, I saw a guy from NIT, and I just did some investigation and got to know that that guy is from ECE department, right? So when a guy from ECE department from NIT can get into the top leaderboard of a contest in competitive programming, why can't you, right? So your department has nothing to do. Like if you can learn it on your own, like in your free time, right? So it's not a big issue. Like this I guess that this would be a motivation for you. And then let's go to the next question. I'm in third year already. So I'm in third year already. Pretty long, pretty late for coding. Can you say how to get it fast? So I would really suggest that don't go in the fast way, the easy way. Okay. So everyone has to go through a cycle, and then it's a slow process, right? So the thing is, don't force yourself to go really fast. Okay. Force yourself to be consistent, and then even if it's slow, it's fine. Okay. Just make sure that you're making progress, right? Don't pressure yourself to be learn things fast, and then you'll be in a bad position if that's the thing. And as for the further thing, I want some other seniors to take and give you an advice on this. Anyone?
So if you are in third year, first get the programming language correct, and then try to do interview, like directly go for interview now. You actually, if you are efficient, you can DP also, but try to do must-do questions for interviews, or must-do questions for competitive programming, like that. Like there will be cheat sheets, 450 problem sheets from Love Babur, or Geeks for Geeks must-do questions. Like if you are able to solve those questions, like you need to spend time on learning concepts also. Right? Like you have 1 year in hand, you have to learn every concept in DSA, like graphs or DP, like this you have to learn. So try to give more focus to that rather than solving many problems. In every concept, try to solve must-do problems only, and go to next topic and cover every topic. Covering every topic should be first priority. And if you are able to do that very quickly, you can concentrate on CP also. Like CP always helps. You can do CP, but if you are not able to, then try to learn every topic and do only must-do problems from those topics. If you cover like after covering all topic, learning all topics, you can go to solving problems randomly.
So I guess you got a pretty good idea about that. So what it matters is the efforts that you put in, right? So don't always go for the easy path. So the next is, what are the problems from EC that's already completed? When do we need graphics? Okay, well, when do we need graphics card while programming? You don't actually need graphics card for programming unless until you want low level abstractions or video RAM that you want. That is really an advanced concept and out of scope from what we do here. So as for a graphics card, you can leverage the power of graphics card, but you cannot do it like in a basic level. So, and it is also not part of competitive programming. So we'll leave that question because sorry, we cannot take that because it's out of scope. So in CodeChef, we'll have time limit now. Is it compile time or runtime? You don't have time limit for the compile time. I'll post the question. Wait. The question is, in CodeChef we have time limit now. Is it compile time or runtime? Actually, most of the time I get this error and I'll be stuck. Yeah. So it's basically because I cannot go into depth. The thing is, for compile time, it's basically the compilation time. So it will not be counted for that. The thing that is counted for is runtime. It's because only in runtime it will get to know, the judge will get to know that how efficient your solution is, right? So when you get this error, it basically means that your approach gives the answer, but it's not the optimal approach. Let's say that you have maybe a data set of 8, right? 8 elements are there, and then you take 64 steps to solve the question. And then maybe there are better ways where I can solve the same question 8 steps, right? So it basically means that you're solving a problem which will be solved in 8 steps in 64 steps, right? So it basically means that you are doing it in square time. Like if there are n, then you will solve it in n square time. So you should be able to do that in n log n or n time. So that's a basic gist of it. So try to improve your approach. Make sure that it's the optimal approach. If you're stuck, then you can always check the tutorials. So as for the question, to say in one word, it's the runtime time that's calculated by the judge. It's concerned for the judge. How did you guys manage both CP and your regular SEM project, SEM tickets? It's really tough thing to do. I guess some senior will take this question.
Can you repeat question again? I didn't understand.
How did you guys manage both CP and your regular SEM templates?
Okay, it's important to know where your time goes. Like we will think like that, but we will have so much of time. Like try tracking your time. Like there are so many time tracking tools. Track that. Track like whenever you are doing something, keep that in that, and like after do it for a week and see where your time goes, and from that you will definitely will have time for CP. Okay, and coming to this academics will not be like if you are in CSC or anything else. My friends from any branch won't study all like from beginning to end. They won't mainly they will listen classes. They will and when exam comes they will study before exam. That's what is the routine for everyone. So I think you can get to this routine if you are not in this already. Listen to class efficiently, like and start studying before exam. So this is what everyone do in engineering. So you can do that. And even if you have a habit of studying daily, you can do that. But you should not take that much time. Like it should not take that much time. So you have to, if you are finding it difficult, then there is a something problem in somewhere else. So try to track where your time going and act accordingly. Like you can plan accordingly. Karthik, I forgot the time tracking tool we use. Can you put that link?
Yeah, what, Prithvi? Okay.
Time tracking
Okay.
tool.
Okay. 1 second. Clockify.me. Clockify. I think there might be a spelling mistake. If just Google out this, just not exactly URL, but it's like clockify.me.
So as it is silent, before going to next question, I will say one thing. For Discord etiquette, don't like if it is compulsory necessarily only DM people, because your doubt will help so many people. Like we are not like I don't mean don't DM us because it's personal. I mean it because like the same question you are asking might help others also. So it will reduce our effort. So we have so many channels in our Discord server. You can ask it anywhere, and we are not asking you to name yourself as yourself. If you are worried about something, you can be like, there is no need to name you as you. Like if you are Prithvi, you can name yourself something, some anime character, anything. Like we don't want to know who you are. So it is advisable to don't DM directly. Like if it is anything important, you can DM, but ask it in group so that it will help everyone. And if you want to talk with us, we can directly join in a voice channel and talk to you. So it's preferable to have to join, like to ask questions in group itself, this channel itself.
Also, please don't use WhatsApp for asking your doubts. Please prefer Discord and use the doubts channel in that. If from your doubts, many others will be benefited. So that is the reason we are emphasizing you to ask your doubt publicly to all the people in the club. So everybody will know what the doubt is, and even they will learn from whatever you've asked. So please use Discord every time. WhatsApp is just we can make timely announcement in that, but we also prefer you to use Discord. So that's all. Srishan?
Yeah, we'll go to the next question. So before you go to the next question, we'll just take one more question. Saket is asking any information on open source development. So open source development is like a very big ocean, and open source is like really out of scope for this topic. And for open source, you need to learn a lot more than this. And then for open source, you have to like maintain standards, because each and every open source project has a standards. So we cannot take that question, sorry, because it's really out of scope. But open source is actually very good place. So if you're wondering if you have any open source contribution, it will really stand out. Like no matter how many projects that you have, the open source contribution onto a big project is a very big thing on your resume, right? So it doesn't mean that you cannot do open source. If it is in open source, you can do it. So let's go to the next question. What are edge cases or corner cases? So I'll give a very basic example. So you're going to CP question where you have to divide two numbers, okay? So you have been A and B, you have to output A by B, okay? So what if the B is 0? So you cannot divide A by B and you cannot do A by 0, right? So that would be that's what we call as corner case, where you have to handle that separately. So for all cases apart from B equal to 0, you can just write B equal to 0, and then the computer will do B equal to 0, and then it will execute the instruction, and then it will give the output. But for B equal to 0, we cannot do A by 0, right? So that is a separate case. That's corner case or edge case. That's what we call it as corner edge case. So we need to handle this case separately, right? So as for CodeChef is really strict when it comes to edge cases, right? So even if you miss one edge case, it will really like tell it in your face that you're doing it wrong. You cannot submit this answer. As for Codeforces is somewhat lenient as for edge cases, but people can hack your solutions. Okay, Codeforces is really not beginner friendly as for how it works, but we'll explain how it works in coming sessions. Okay, so these are as for edge cases, this is edge case. So cases that you need to handle by yourself separately, right? So we'll go to the next question. There's a small doubt. We need to start CP after completing DSA or just immediately. So as I said, data structures and algorithms go hand in hand. CP and DSA also goes hand in hand, right? If you learn array in DSA and some algorithms based on array in DSA, you can also solve programs from CP that are related to arrays, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to complete DSA and then start CP, or you can go to CP and then do DSA, right? It doesn't actually matter. So if you're learning one data structure and certain algorithms on DSA, you can try solving problems related to that topic on CP, right? So it doesn't actually matter. So I guess it's a small doubt. Yeah, nice question. So should one start learning web dev and data science apart from CP simultaneously? Yeah, this is a really broad thing to be for me to answer this. Data science is a completely different field. Like it's a domain. It's domain in CS, which deals with mostly statistical mathematics, right? And CP does with algorithms. Even statistics has algorithms, but data science is a completely different domain, right? So as for CP or data science, is two different things. So you have to, if you are interested in data science, then you have to focus on data science, right? So if you are focusing on data science, it will be good for you. And it doesn't mean that you cannot do the CP. You can also do CP and data science. But I would say data science really it will require you to put more efforts because it's an emerging field, and most of the companies are in need for a data scientist, right? As for web development is also a different domain. So these are three different domains in computer science, right? So web development has nothing to do with data science, which has nothing to do with CP, right? So the best advice is do CP for your placements and do data science or web development, whichever you are interested in, right? Don't put your leg in all three fields. It'll really fire back, right? So it'll start to fire back at some point. So if you are interested in data science, do data science. If you have free time, do CP. If you're interested in web dev, do web development. In your free time, do CP, right? You need to know that data science is full of statistics, web development is full of designing, and CP is algorithmic thinking and approaches to problems, which is comparative programming, right? So data science is a career, like it's a career option. Like apart from normal CS, SD is a software development engineer, data science is a completely different career path, and these two career paths do not go hand in hand pretty well, in my opinion, right? So focus on any one thing, and free time you can focus on some other thing. If anyone wants to add, you can, because I'm not a data scientist myself, so I cannot be commenting on that. Anyone wants to add?
You covered it quite well for the most part, Shishan.
Yeah.
So
just if you have questions like this, just go to the Google and then just type what is data science, right? If you see a lot about data science, you'll get to know that it's a different career path that's very much different from a software developer, right? A software developer is very different from data science and an AI and ML, right? So in today's world, AI, ML, and data science are the three most biggest emerging fields, right? So these three are different career paths. So make sure to differentiate between these things so that it won't be a problem in future, because you cannot learn all three things at the same time, right? It's like learning maths and physics at the same time, so you cannot do that. So should one start learning? Okay, that's the question that we just covered. Just a suggestion, even students from SRC campus are also interested. Yes, bro, we need to talk to you. Currently we don't have any contact with SRC students. So if you have any contact with them, just let them know and provide the contact to us, so they'll contact us. It's not like that it's just for our campus, main campus. We will also like people from SRC campus. It's just that we don't have the contact. So if you have the contact, just send them, just invite them to our server, it'll be fine. Then they'll invite their friends, and then the community will become big. So should we need web development? That's your interest. That's completely your interest. You should not be asking that. So decide for yourself. Just go and type web development and then see what's inside web development, right? So there's many frameworks for different languages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So web development is also career path. So you ask yourself that, do I like web development, before asking us, right? So we cannot really comment on what you can do, right? So that's the best thing. Is it important to have full command in theory? Is it important to have full command in theory portion too? I don't know what that means. I'll post a question over here. Can you take this question?
So, and as far as I understand, theory portion says like DSA theory. I don't think you need. You need to be able to some dynamic programming problem. You need to be able to identify the dynamic programming problem, and you need to solve it. That will suffice. I don't understand full command. See, if you are speaking about CS subject, you need for interviews you need computer networks, operating system, and DBMS. These are the only three theory subjects you need to know for placement. But in CP, you need nothing. Like DSA alone will suffice. You need to able to identify a problem as some kind of problem, and you need to solve it. That will be enough.
So I guess that's the list that I have. Are we missing any questions that you asked and then we missed it? If there are any, just post it. And I guess it's a pretty long session. We started at 4 p.m. Now it's 5:43. So thank you people for joining us. I'll wait for 1 more minute for if you have missed any questions, just post it now. So as for asking questions, as Prithvi mentioned, so if you have any doubts, like if you see like people asked about open source data science, which is completely irrelevant for our topic, which is competitive programming, but we still answered the question, right? So it doesn't matter actually how bad your question is, how beginner your question is. Just ask it, right? Only when people ask, they get to learn. If you never ask, you never know, right? So the first thing that we are like fighting right now is people DMing us. So don't DM. This question might have helped someone else, right? So just don't DM us. Just ask that in the community. Okay, so this is saying says that alone you can go fast, together you can go far. So if you grow as a community, we learn a lot more than what we can learn as a single person.
So Bharat asked, recently I joined in GitHub, how to use it and make it effective. GitHub, you don't need it for competitive programming, but if you want to store show your competitive programming files in GitHub, you can use it. Like you can create a directory and do everything related to CP in the directory, and you can push it to GitHub. Another thing, like it will be useful mainly for projects. Like if two people are working on the same project, it will be very helpful to have GitHub, because your code and his code should be same, right? Like when you work on some part of code and he works on some part of code, both of the parts should be merged, and you both should have the merged copy, right? So you can use GitHub for that.
Yeah, you can just go and Google source control or version control, so that you'll get a in-depth look on what is Git and GitHub. Right, so GitHub is mainly for open source and collaboration. Yeah, it's mainly for open source collaboration, and Git is for version control, so you can do that. So I guess we did cover every question. Even though if you want to do a position as web development in a company, CP will be needed to crack the pre-interview part, right? Yes. If the interviewer is obliged to ask you CP questions, then you need to answer CP questions. Yes. If you're lucky enough, the interviewer may ask you a simple question from your topic, and then they'll leave you out. But the president of this club, Arjun, usually used to say that interviews are basically luck, right? So it depends on your day, it depends on how you do, it depends on the interviewer that you get. So if you get a strict interviewer who's going to ask you like a lot of questions, then you're done. If you're going to very lenient interviewer who's asking you very very basic questions or easy questions, then you're good to go. You're lucky, right? So you don't have to worry much about interview process, but you need to know at least like a basic knowledge of CP, because you cannot completely expect the interview to be completely away from CP, and then just because you're going to web development, right? So Just basics of CPU will do. At present, I'm in third year, first sem. I just learned Java and then not done much problems in DS, but I'm progressing a little. What are some advices? Yeah, I think for fourth year people should keep this advice because I'm in third year.
I think I already answered this question for some. Like I will repeat again. First, try to complete every topic, every DSA topic you need, like graph dynamic programming, regression, backtracking, everything you try to complete, and don't focus on solving. Like don't sit at one topic and completely spend months on it. Take array, do important problems on that, must do problems on that, and move on to next topic. And your first priority should be to complete every topic, and then you come to solving problems randomly, like like you don't know which problem it is, but you need to solve that. Like you need to identify which category the problem is, and you need to like sometimes if you know that it is a stack problem, it will be easy to solve, but knowing that will be a little tricky. For example, greedy or dynamic programming, you don't know. Like you need to first I will suggest to try to cover every topic, and don't spend so much time on each topic. Only do must do problems or important problems on the topic. Try to get a entire grasp on the concept and move on to next topic and complete every topic first, and then start solving every problem like randomly. Start solving problems randomly, and don't afraid to ask. Like everyone knows a beginner. If you are afraid to ask, you are going to lose. It's like what happens if you ask nothing. Like someone will answer. That's it. If you are not asking, you will be in the same position right now. So try. There is nothing wrong in asking. Ask and learn and improve. That's it. Like, but don't don't sit at one topic. Go to next topic quickly. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that is it. So we're at the end of the session. I guess we'll wind up now. Where can I get PDFs related to first years? I'm not sure what is related to first years. You want? Yeah. So if you want, I think if you're asking about the syllabus, it will be available in the website, or your faculties will provide that. So I guess thanks for staying with us till the end of the session.
You can use community to ask questions if you have anything.
What?
You can use Discord to ask any questions if you
have. You can, if you have any more questions, we're currently winding up the session now. So if you have any more questions, you can come and ask it in the Discord. So Discord is pretty beginner friendly, I believe. So if you have any questions, you can ask that in Discord. Even if it's about Discord, you can ask it on our server itself. So we'll help you. You don't have to worry about. You don't have to be shy about it. So you can just ask any question. So we do have off-topic channel for you to have your chit chats and stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. So who will give the end note?
And yeah, don't forget to register yourself for the course, guys. I'll send the link.
That's a very big thing. From the next week, we are starting our series. So we'll be starting from basics, and then we'll take one by one. Take one topic for 1 week, and then we do that a session. And then throughout the week, we'll give you some questions for you to solve to get a good grasp of the concept. And then we'll take one topic per week. So that's pretty simple, I guess. So make sure that you guys register for that. Even if you already know CP, like you can do that. If you're very big basic, if you have any basic knowledges, you are beginning, you are starting point, you can still do that. Okay, it's not a problem. We highly recommend you to take that course, like course kind of thing, that the series that we're conducting, right? So it will be really helpful if you are starting.
So Srishan, stop recording before.